Games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and I guess I'll talk briefly about how yesterday was for me. What did I play test? I'll let you know. Friday's the best day, I say so on my show. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. I can feel that my voice is a bit gone. Yeah, do you hear that? Hopefully, you'll be able to bear with me. But anyway, 10 a.m. ish UK time, time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. I'm going to talk about how is Questabell going. Is the mission format a good one? That's a game designed by Kirsten Lunde, but I'm doing lots of work on the levels, pondering different stuff, and I'm looking forward to making it something so super awesome and then sharing it with everyone. I think it's about ready to start sharing with a select number of people. So if you're interested in playtesting, then do let me know. But generally, I'll also talk about some games that I played and Swatch. Let's talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. You know what? I'm just going to take you through a bunch of photographs. It is always a wonderful day on Fridays. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I get to go out and straight away I'm with other people, other designers. We're all playtesting games, we're chatting away. Yesterday I had a joyous occasion to meet, well, to get to chat to four folk, one of whom had met me super briefly at Dragon Meet and might already be going off to their next destination. But it was lovely to meet them. They came just to check out a bunch of games and they enjoyed word games, so hooray. I also did a little bit of pondering of my real-time bag drawing game early in the morning. And it was, yeah, even though I didn't get to playtest that, it was like nice to ponder that and to draw a few more things. Came back, but let's go for my photos. Bear in mind, I only started taking photos halfway through the day. So here is a game by Doric, a geography thing. You need to be aware of geography. You need to bet, okay, which of these is the northmost, or which of these is in the middle, or which of these is in southmost. Similarly for other categories, the east, west, I can't remember if that's latitude or longitude, the number of Olympic medals, the number of species, the starting letter of the capital, the highest point, and then we had things of like the number of neighbors, the number of like the size of the place, and one other population. And each round, three of these are going to be covered up, and you will take turns placing around. It feels like a nice game if you are on the ball, if you already know a bit of geography, or if you're really keen to learn geography. It's a nice little quiz style game. Went around and took photos of what else was going on. So for the final slot, we also had Rob Beer with this voting game, and that looks really pretty. I love all the icons here. We had Oleg with this cooperative game about exploring a mysterious forest, which also looks absolutely gorgeous in a very different way. And then back to Doric, because Doric's games were quick, we also played this other game about finding things that match two categories, and it was a speed game. And managed to win that one, unlike the geography one, which I did terribly at. I did mention I only started taking photos halfway through. I did play Questabell. I'll get into that in a wee bit. Um, what else did I try off someone else's? Oh yeah, I played Alan's social deduction game, which is always fascinating to play. It's only 4 turns, so it's a micro game, not just in the number of components, but also in how long it lasts. But there's within that a lot of pondering going on, a lot of okay, what will they do? Okay, I need to take a chance at some point. Who am I going to trust? Am I going to take a chance now or take a chance later? I do worry that it's going to possibly descend into too much of a this is what I would do every time. But then if I played with a group that knew that's what I would do every time, then I need to change my actions to work out other games that we played, because at the end, I like to stick around. I tell people, yeah, stick around and we'll be playing some published games. It's a way to get people together. And after we've been playtesting games from like 11 a.m. sharp until 4:30 p.m., then we wind down and I like to say, hey, let's get some games out. Help me playtest. Well, help me try out some of the games that I've still not played. Rooster Rush is a very interesting game where by Mayday Games you've got a bunch of little tokens, and unlike this one which has 2 faces, one on each side, most of them will have a road on one side which shows that that token is totally safe, and then on the other side is a vehicle. If a vehicle on a token matches a vehicle on that card, then that card is unsafe. So if either the granny or the police car were face up, then this would be unsafe. And you need to spin the tokens, waiting until it lands down or until you think, I can see looking from above, this is probably safe. Boom. And then you grab the cards. If it's safe, you get this many points, 3. If it's dangerous, you lose a life. And there's an extra rule that if everything's dangerous, you can hit this button and gain back a life if you already lost one. Fundamentally, do you like the idea of spinning tokens and trying to grab cards and trying to work out how the tokens will match? If you like that idea, it's a really nice game. I think that it's possibly a bit limited. It doesn't surprise you massively in what it's got going on, but it does what it suggests, and it's enjoyable to play. And yeah, I think that like lots of speed games, it does slightly depend on you finding people who are going to be at a similar level, and I'm not sure how likely that is, but I really enjoy it and would if I find anyone who's like, yeah, I'd play that, then I would happily give it a go. Growl. I mean, this one, I would happily suggest this. Growl is a social deduction game. Don't want to spill all the stuff out. It's in a really nice box. I got this secondhand. And you can see, like, all the cards would fit in about this much space. But this box does make it so that you can reach in and take out, oh, this is only for the 6 to 9 player stuff. This is the basic deck. In Growl, the main thing that happens is you are pondering, you're looking at a deck and you're deciding what to keep, what to give away. You might have money, which gives people points. You might have gold. Sorry, that says gold. You might have bites, which potentially turn people into werewolf. You might have wounds which potentially kill people, and obviously you want to kill people on the opposite team. Or indeed, you might have, hold on, I'm just going to see if I can work out how to moderate something. You might have stuff that heals people from wounds or heals people from bites. 3 times during the game, there's going to be some swapping of cards, and 1 time during the game, right at the end, at least one person will die, probably. And if there's only werewolves, then the werewolves win. Otherwise, the humans win. And it is, as you might expect from a game called Growl, it is quite heavily weighted towards the werewolves. We played it slightly wrongly, so I'm keen to play it again by the correct rules, and I'm also keen to play it again a few times with higher player counts. But I do feel, my current feeling is that the point system feels a bit pointless. It's a bit random. I mean, just you've got this gold in your hand. What's that all about? It's, yeah, I don't know what to. That doesn't feel satisfying fundamentally. Finally, we played Swatch, which was a super gorgeous game designed by Scott Minerva, self-published, and yeah, each turn you're going down, you're selecting cards, and you're choosing, okay, either you can add some cyan, magenta, or yellow stuff, or you can mix them together to make red, green, or blue, or you can trade your cyan, magenta, or yellow stuff. And the final thing that you can do, that's a free action, is you can claim Swatch tokens, which is how you win. As you can see by the bottom of those cards, like that green with the big number 3 on it, needs 2 reds, 3 greens, and 2 blues. And then once you've got 3 swatches, you will win the game. It's all about working out how to do things efficiently, and there's a really interesting system of, okay, if I choose later on during the round, I get later pick. But maybe there's better things. But where it falls apart for me, at least, is that where the cards come up is totally random. So it's equally likely that the best cards will be at the start. So get a good card and you get, first pick. And then maybe, yeah, and there's so much randomness from what you top deck from the top of from your random draw. And the way we played it, which I think is slightly wrong, was that you can play any number of cards on your turn. But I've been looking through the forums and I think you can actually only play 1 card. And if that's the case, so you can only play the cards that you get on that turn. And then if you don't play them, then you're basically losing stuff, which means that if you aren't able to randomly draw a card that gives you CMY or K before you randomly draw something that tells you to mix stuff, you will forever lose those tiles. And yeah, that way there's not a lot of planning that you're able to do, and it feels less satisfying. I feel like my suggestion would be having, I don't know, being able to play 3 cards a turn, maybe. That way you can at least play it later, or maybe even 4 cards a turn, because that way it's not like you can play out everything. I mean, yeah, the person to my right said that they were quite close on like seeing someone play out everything in 1 turn, and I did manage to work it out. So I had so I was super efficient, but having, and yeah, it was like, okay, play that, play that, play that, play, mixed together. But I mean, 4 cards, you can still only mix 4 things, which is potentially a lot, but it's not a ridiculous amount. Yeah, I found some aspects of it, I guess, unsatisfying, but it's a really pretty game, as you can see by the fact that I saw this and I was inspired to take photos of. I had these magenta, I had these yellows, and that's my final winning stuff. So I had those swatches remaining, and I also had a few extra cards at the end. So I wasn't as, perfect as I could have been. But yeah, that was super lovely. Anyway, as always, if you want to ask questions, then please ask away. I do try and reply to all respectful questions that get asked. I reply to basically all respectful questions that I see. So let's talk about Questabell. Winner of the LDEC design contest, designed by Kirsten Lunde. I should send out an email to the LDEC design contest enters today. It was, hello Yoda, it's lovely to see you. Hope you're generally well. Yeah, so Questabell yesterday, as I said, had a lovely test with 3 people who said they enjoyed word games. They were so good at word games. I mean, there's David Brain, who designs crosswords for a living, literally. And then there's 2 other people who are coming up with these words that I'm not familiar with and are, yeah, definitely, probably slightly better than me. Not like loads, but the skill level was really strong. And I asked them, would you like to play easy, normal, tricky, or fiendish? And what I say is that easy, maybe I should call it super easy. Or no, easy is enough. It's meant for children. You have to make 3-letter words. Normal, it's 4-letter words. Tricky, 5-letter words. It's aimed for people who like word games. Fiendish, you'll probably lose a few times. Make 6-letter words, and there would be a level above that eventually called diabolical, but I need to make sure that all the levels there are possible. Anyway, so we started off, and I explained the rules before they decided, okay, we're going to play normal. As it happens, we played 6 levels, and they didn't fail a single one once. It's meant to play kind of like The Crew. So you start at a certain point and then you keep going. Unlike The Crew, it doesn't really say, yeah, start at level 1. It tells you in the rules, it would probably say, well, if you're unsure, look at this. Have you played word games before? Are you confident at spelling words? And would you like to occasionally fail? Because if you would like to occasionally fail, like Doric is maybe not as strong a player, but is really keen to fail and be challenged. Whereas the 2 of the people that I played with yesterday, they were very they were very strong at word games, but they wanted a gentle experience. They wanted to win every time, and that's totally okay. And so you'd start and then you'd keep on going. So level 1, you just make 4 words as in normal mode, or 4 letters each, putting cards on the left or right of a line, extending a word until you've made a word, and then cooperatively say, yes, we've made a word, and now that person clears that. Level 2, you get rid of some of the letters from the deck. So what we played with was removing the T's and the R's, so 2 consonants. And I chose 2 consonants to be an easy level, so it's a very small change. I mean, if you do S and E, it has a much bigger feeling of change. Like S, okay, we can no longer put S's on the end. E is like the most common vowel, But one other vowel would be, okay, that's a bit less impactful, and the consonant, okay. So I chose between the N, R, and T and said, okay, we're getting rid of R and T. It seemed to work well. That continued for the next 4 levels. So firstly, just getting used to the fact that there's no R's or T's, which did take a bit of doing, because at least at a few times we said a word thinking we're going to make this word until it's like, wait a minute, we're aiming to get one card on the right or the left that we literally don't have in the card deck because we've taken them all out. Level 3, we had to use 2 of the lower letters. Level 4, we weren't able to have any duplicate borders. And at this point, Francis and David Brain were in hysterics. And it was lovely to see them laugh and say, wow, I was like, David kind of was hoping that was coming, but was really excited by the possibility, said that they really had to think about it. And it was a really nice level. David talking about enjoying the fact that it felt a bit more changeable based on who you play with, and you have to improvise. Conversely, people weren't as keen on level 5. It worked well, but removing WXYZ, having to use them in the having to use them all in your words. Firstly, I was told that this was possibly easier than level 4. Someone said, well, that felt almost easier than level 2. I mean, it logically can't have been because there's an extra restriction over level 2, but maybe because they saw some of the cards outside and, they'd had more experience. So maybe it should have been, in terms of difficulty, maybe it should have been level 3 or something. I don't know. Yeah, but the bigger complaint there was that you could plan everything ahead, that you saw this and you could plan it. And if you play it with a similar group of people, then you're not going to have so much fun with it. And that feels a bit of a shame. It would be better if, I don't know, you had 4 words and then you flipped over a random card and you have to use this one in this word. That would be more interesting. Or maybe even you flip over 2 cards and you have to use both of them in the next word. But yeah, that definitely needs a lot of testing. But in my mind, I had this idea that people would progress, and then once they've played like all these levels, they feel like, yeah, I've gotten my value out of this game. But maybe that's not enough. I mean, this does have the strength to be a standalone game. Now, we went on to level, I don't know what it might be, level, it was a 6th one we played, but it definitely wouldn't be level 6, where I took out all the consonants, N, R, S, and T, and then people had to make 4 4-letter words using only these consonants, only the other cards, only the other letters in the alphabet, which is a bit trickier than it sounds, because you're still restricted by what's in your hand and what you're playing. They did kind of manage to win, but only by cheating, by David Brain showing their cards at the end, and then Adelina, who took over from me, saying, oh, wait a minute, you've got judo. And then David Brain saying, oh, yes, hooray, we won. And then Francis saying, yeah, I know, we only won by cheating. But that felt like a much more exciting thing for them. And in reality, maybe that should be level 9 or even level 10 of the normal mode. But it was suggested by Ryan to shuffle up some cards and have sorts of more procedurally generated missions, something similar to the crew, where you could play the same level that you really like multiple times in a row. The point being that Francis said, well, maybe I don't want to constantly advance. Maybe I'm just feeling this is my level and I'm enjoying this. I don't want to play this level again. And maybe there needs to be more in one sort of difficulty level. Maybe people don't want it to constantly increase. Now, of course, the levels aren't going to constantly increase because it's going to be different based on different player counts. We can't work it out exactly. But I did have a long ponder. Okay, how would that work? Well, there's different things that you could do. You could have the different word lengths, maybe +1 to word length. And then if it adds up multiple times, then so be it. Maybe there's like one card saying you need to use at least one of the lower letter, and then another one that says at least one of the lower letter. But then the second one is a lot harder than the first one. The third one is even harder. That goes up exponentially, not linearly. That goes up like that. Like pew, pew, pew. You know what I mean? Like exponential. And there's other things where together they might, sure, setting aside identical things which can't be increased, there's some things that will maybe not make such a massive difference until you hit a breaking point, like removing letters. Removing removing one consonant, for example, is probably okay. Removing two, yeah, it's probably about twice as tricky. Removing three, maybe it's a little bit less than twice as tricky. And like even removing one, you've got to keep it in your mind. So it's probably like slightly reducing the increase in difficulty until you get to 4. And then once you've got some 4 things removed, boom, well, now you're struggling to even play through, keep enough cards in the deck. Because if you burn cards once, you are in trouble. I mean, depending on your difficulty level. And so that makes me think that I do prefer the idea of it being tightly curated to make sure that these work really nicely. And saying, yeah, you can go through them. There are going to be, and maybe saying, yeah, every 5th level is something that will be a bit less replayable, but everything else you can potentially keep playing with even the same people. And if that felt like a nice challenge to you, you can keep replaying those and probably have a different experience because of the way the letters come out. You'll have to think of different things. Now, so where do we go from here? I think my current feeling is to just carry on the path that we're forging, but here's a really question, and I'm looking forward to chatting about it with Kirsten Lunde next week. I'll be chatting on Wednesday, but we'll also have a public chat on the Thursday on this stream. So that's all about Questabell and how it's getting on so far. Other things to say, yeah, bag building game's going well. I'm confident about that. I'm thinking that I want to go back to having single tiles and double tiles from the shop. But yeah, double tiles are going to be less good than twice as good as a single tile. So because with a single tile, you have to spend the time putting them down. So I've worked out a double tile. Right now, I'm going to make it about, when I'm it's a single tile is going to be about 67% of a double tile. That's the way I'm doing it. That's my current aim. We'll see how it goes. But in any case, there's also other stuff that I'm working on. That's a story for another day. For now, question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. My question for you is, have you played any of the games that I talked about today? Like, have you played Questabell? I mean, there's very few people in the world who have, because not shared the rules with anyone publicly. Have you played Swatch or Growl or Rooster Rush? If you've played them, which one was your favourite? And if you've not played them, which one are you most excited to play? And Rooster Rush is by Antoine Bauza and Corentin Lebret, and Growl is by Joey Vigor. I mean, right now, I would most prefer to play Questabell, but that's partially because I'm enjoying testing it. I might even do some solo testing today. But if I had 4 people, I think I would like to play Growl by the proper rules, because we made a mistake. We let people swap things around, but I'll double check if we got anything else wrong. I'll be checking all the rules on Board Game Geek today and rereading the rulebook. But anyway, over to you. What are you up to? You can share a button if you want to. I am going to make sure I get out. It looks like a lovely day, but I'm sure it's going to be so cold when I go outside. Regardless, I will get my arse outside. Probably have something to eat in a wee bit. Maybe something that just keeps the stomach going. A bit of rice. Maybe an oatcake. Maybe a potato. Yeah. I'll going to try and do a little bit of work for posting some stuff, getting some stuff to Royal Mail, and writing some spreadsheets and working out some things, maybe some solo testing. We will see. Recap and wrap up before we finish up. Limited in what it does, but really fun. A nice twist on social deduction, but the point seemed really weird. Yeah, I liked. The card drawing feels like how many cards you can play feels weird to me, and the randomness of what's on each line and what you draw feels weird to me, but there feels like there's a potentially really interesting puzzle, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And Questabell, I'm happy with how it's going, and even if I don't go the full modular route, it is interesting to ponder. And yeah, I think that I'm excited to now make up new levels and see how we get on. So for now, if you want to check me out, I'm as always Stuff by Bez. Check out stuffbybez.com/streams. Unfortunately, the person who was meant to be chatting today couldn't make it. Tomorrow, I might do a bunch of short reviews. Share, spread the word. Thank you very much, everyone. Lots of love, and as always, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, everyone. Bye, bye.